Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started. Today, we are looking up. Way up.
And we're not talking about astronomy.
No, not birds, not planes. We're talking about drones. And honestly, I have to check my own bias at the door for this one.
Oh, what's the bias?
Well, I think when most of us hear professional drone pilot, we get a very specific image in our heads.
Let me guess. Guy in a hoodie, FPV goggles.
Yes, exactly. Those bug-eyed FPV goggles. And he's flying a drone down a waterfall at 80 miles an hour or, doing those crazy corkscrew orbits around a skyscraper that make you feel like you just got off a roller coaster.
The stuff that goes viral.
The stuff that goes viral on TikTok. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. It's the demo reel mindset. It looks incredibly cool. It gets millions of likes, and it is absolute poison for a professional film career.
That was the biggest shocker for me, digging into this stack of research. We're looking at materials on aerial directing and brand film production, and the first thing that just smacks you in the face is this reality check. The pilots who actually get rebooked, the ones making a sustainable living in the film industry, they are not the ones flying sick orbits.
Not at all. In fact, if you fly a sick orbit on a high-end commercial set, you might just get fired.
Seriously.
Yeah. The pilots who get the call back are the ones who make the set calmer and the edit faster.
Which sounds kind of boring.
To an adrenaline junkie?
Yeah.
Maybe. But to a producer with $1 million budget on the line, it's music to their ears.
Right.
We are talking about a fundamental shift from being a drone operator, which, implies a person standing there playing with a gadget, to becoming an aerial department.
Aerial department. I like that. It sounds a lot more official than drone guy.
It is. It means you aren't just a vendor showing up to get a cool shot. You are a trusted crew member who speaks the language of cinema, who understands the pressure of the schedule, and who integrates with the massive machine that is a film production.
So we have a massive amount to unpack today. We're going to break down this mindset shift required for high-stakes brand films.
Yeah.
We're going to learn how to speak director, photography, and editor fluently because apparently that is a completely different language than drone pilot.
It is its own dialect, absolutely. And we are going to get into the weeds of safety protocols. And I don't mean don't crash. I mean the complex jurisdictional nuances between U.S. and Canadian rules because they are very different, and getting caught on the wrong side of them is expensive.
Plus, and I can't believe I'm saying this, we're going to talk about the most unsexy hero of the film industry, file naming.
I promise you, by the end of this, you will find file naming sexy.
I highly doubt that, but let's see if you can convince me. Let's jump in. Segment 1, the mindset shift. The sources draw this really sharp line in the sand between solo success and brand film success. What's the difference there?
Okay, so think about a solo gig. Let's say you're shooting a real estate listing or maybe a wedding. What's the definition of success in that world?
Pretty shots, happy client.
Right. You got some beautiful shots, the client is happy, and you deliver the files fast. It's transactional. You are a lone wolf. You fly, you land, you hand over the SD card, everyone cheers.
Right. Look at this view. The house looks huge. Job done.
Exactly. But on a brand film, say, a commercial for a car, a lifestyle piece for a clothing brand, a corporate documentary success is totally different.
How so?
A brand film isn't just showing a location. It's a story-led film selling an identity, a feeling. Success here means your shots cut seamlessly with the ground camera. It means you protected the schedule. It means there is no fixing it later.
The research mentions something called expectation gaps. That sounds like corporate speak, but the examples were actually kind of terrifying.
It's the #1 reason drone ops fail on big sets. And it's almost never a crash.
It's not a flight error.
No. Most failures aren't because the pilot crashed into a tree. They're because of guessing games. You launch the drone thinking, I'm going to get a cool, fast, sweeping shot of the factory to show how dynamic they are.
Makes sense.
But the director actually needed a static, locked-off plate for a title card. because the voiceover is solemn and serious.
So you wasted the battery, you wasted the 10 minutes of sunlight you had left, and you handed over a shot they can't use.
And now you look incompetent. You have to close that gap before you even touch the controller.
So what are those questions? What do you need to know?
You need to know the deliverable. Is this for an Instagram story where it's vertical video that completely changes your framing? Or is it for a broadcast commercial on a 4K TV? You need to know the approval chain. Who is the person who actually says, yes, that's a keeper? Is it the director, the client, the agency creative?
It seems so obvious, but I guess if you're used to just flying around, you don't ask those questions.
You don't. You just assume cool is the goal.
Now, to figure this stuff out, you have to read the room, but you also have to read the documents.
The paperwork. The Bible of the shoot.
Let's talk about the call sheet. I've been on a couple of small sets, and I always thought a call sheet was just a schedule, like show up at 8 a.m., lunch at 1 p.m. But you're saying that's the rookie view.
That is 100% the rookie view. A rookie looks at a call sheet and sees a calendar. A pro looks at a call sheet and sees a risk map.
A risk map. Okay, decode that for me. What am I looking for?
First, you're looking for time anchors.
Time anchors.
Yeah. When is sunrise? When is sunset? Because for a drone, those aren't just pretty times of day. They are strategic windows. If the call sheet says you're launching the drone at 1:00 p.m. in July, and the creative brief says moody, cinematic, and emotional, you have a massive problem.
Right, before you've even left your house.
Exactly. Because 1:00 p.m. sunlight is harsh, top-down, and ugly.
It looks like a news report.
It's terrible. It looks like a local news broadcast, not a movie. So you spot that conflict on paper and you flag it to the producer. You say, hey, for that moody shot, we really need to be in the air at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.
So you're problem solving in pre-production.
Yeah.
What else?
You're also looking for set control authority, who is the first AD, the first assistant director.
Why do I care about the first AD? I thought the director was the boss.
The director is the creative boss. The first AD is the boss of time and safety. They control the clock, they control the set. If you want to launch, you need their permission to lock down the set. If you don't know who they are, you're just a nuisance buzzing around asking people to move.
Got it. And you're also looking for, was it hidden hazards?
Hidden hazards, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a crane listed on the equipment list? Because that's a big metal thing sticking up in the air. Are we shooting near a hospital, which might have a helipad and active helicopter traffic? Are there radio towers nearby?
So you're basically investigating the crime scene before the crime happens.
Precisely. You are de-risking the entire day before you even pack your gear.
The documents also mention the creative brief and the mood board. How do we analyze those without just thinking, oh, pretty pictures?
This is where you extract the why. The mood board is your emotional cheat sheet. If it shows premium luxury, think Mercedes, high-end watches, perfume, your flight needs to be slow, heavy, stable. You want the drone to feel like it weighs 1,000 pounds.
And if the mood board is innovation in tech, like for a startup or a new phone,
then you need precise, sharp lines. Maybe faster movements, more deliberate, almost robotic pushes. You're matching the flight physics to the emotional style of the brand.
the sources suggest using a 3-pass method to analyze all these documents. This seemed really practical. Walk us through it.
Okay, so pass 1 is the story pass. You read everything and you ask, what is the audience supposed to believe after this shot?
What's an example?
Okay, so you're shooting a factory. Is the story, this factory is massive and intimidating? Or is the story, this team is friendly and welcoming like a family? Those are 2 completely different flight paths.
Right. Intimidating might be a high, wide angle, looking down. Friendly might be lower, closer to people, flying with them.
Exactly. What's the narrative function of the shot? That's pass 1.
Okay, what's pass 2?
Visual language pass. This is where you look at how the ground cameras are shooting. What's the A-cam doing? Are they shooting high contrast? Are they handheld and shaky like a documentary? Are they locked off on tripods, very composed and classical? You have to match that energy.
So you don't want a perfectly smooth, robotic drone shot if the ground footage is all shaky and raw.
No, because it feels like 2 different movies pasted together. It pulls the audience out of the story. You have to match the visual texture.
And the 3rd pass?
The operations pass. This is where you put your pilot hat back on, you read through the creative again, but this time you're just looking for red flags. You identify risk triggers, airspace, crowds, traffic. You're asking the hard question. Can we actually do what the creative brief wants, legally and safely?
So by the time you actually show up to the location, you've already flown the mission in your head 3 different ways.
That's the job. You stop being a guy with a toy and you start being a department head.
That leads perfectly into segment 2. You mentioned matching the ground cameras. The outline calls this speaking the language of cinema. And I feel like this is where the tech gets thick.
It does, but this is the differentiator. This is where most drone pilots get exposed as amateurs.
How so?
You can fly perfectly smooth, no crashes, great framing. But if your footage looks like a video game and the rest of the movie looks like, well, a movie, you failed.
The source material calls this the amateur giveaway. What is physically causing that difference?
It starts with the absolute basics, frame rate and shutter speed. The first thing you do when you get on set is walk up to the A-cam, the main camera operator, and you ask, what are we shooting today?
Okay, so let's role play. I'm the A-cam. I say we're shooting 24 frames per second or, 23.976.
Right, the standard for cinema.
Right.
Now, a lot of drones come out of the box set to 30 or even 60 frames per second because that looks really smooth on your iPhone screen. It's hyper real.
Right, it looks like live sports or a soap opera.
Exactly. But if you hand an editor 60 frames per second footage and they drop it into a 24 frames per second timeline, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It feels cheap, it's too smooth, it doesn't have that dreamlike quality of film.
Okay, so I switch my drone to 24 FIFIs. Problem solved, right?
Not even close. Now you run into the shutter angle problem. In cinema, we follow the 180-degree shutter rule.
The what rule?
The 180-degree shutter rule. It's a holdover from old film cameras with a physical spinning shutter. All it means is your shutter speed needs to be double your frame rate. So if you are at 24 FPs, your shutter should be 148th of a second, let's say 150th, to keep the math simple.
Okay, 150th of a second. That's a pretty slow shutter. The shutter is staying open for a while.
It is, and that's what creates motion blur. That's the magic. When a car drives by in a movie, you don't see a perfectly crisp car. You see a bit of a blur. That blur is what makes it feel natural and cinematic to the human eye.
Okay, I see the problem coming.
You got it. It is noon. The sun is blasting. If you set your camera to a slow shutter of 150th of a second, do you know what your image looks like?
I'm guessing it's just pure white.
Pure white. It's completely blown out. There's way too much light entering the lens. So what does the amateur pilot do? They crank the shutter speed up. They go to 1500th or 11,000th of a second to darken the image.
Exposure fixed.
Exposure fixed, motion ruined. Now, every single frame is razor sharp.
Yeah.
There's no blur. It looks staccato. It looks like the frantic combat footage from Saving Private Ryan.
Which is a cool look if you're storming a beach, but it's a terrible look if you're filming a Lexus commercial.
100% correct. It feels subconscious, but the audience will feel that something is off. It looks jittery and cheap.
So how do we fix it? We need the slow shutter, but we can't handle the light.
Sunglasses for your drone.
Yeah.
You need ND filters, neutral density filters. These are little pieces of darkened glass you screw onto the drone lens.
Yeah.
An ND16, an ND32, and ND64, they physically block light from entering the sensor. They allow you to keep that shutter open for 150th of a second, getting that beautiful motion blur without blowing out the image.
So the takeaway is?
If you show up to a professional shoot and you don't have a pocket full of ND filters, you are not a professional aerial cinematographer, period.
That is a fantastic explanation. It's mechanical. You're physically forcing the camera to behave like a cinema camera.
You got it.
Now, let's talk about color. The outline mentions log versus baked in.
This is the difference between buying ingredients and buying a microwave dinner.
Okay.
Baked-in profiles, like the vivid or standard setting on your drone, contrast and saturation for you, right in the camera. They look great instantly on your iPad, but once that contrast is baked in, you can't remove it.
It's the microwave dinner. You can't unsalt it.
Right. But the A-cam on the ground, that big, expensive cinema camera, is likely shooting in log. This is a logarithmic profile. It looks flat, gray, desaturated, almost ugly.
It's the raw ingredients.
Exactly. It preserves all the data in the shadows and the highlights, so the colorist, the chef, can grade it and style it later in post-production.
So if you hand the colorist a high contrast, super saturated drone clip, and they are working with all this flat, raw camera footage.
You've handcuffed them. They can't make them match. The drone footage will always look like it came from a different universe, like it was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah.
You have to have the discipline to shoot flat, knowing it'll look good later.
Let's talk about lenses. Most drones have these really wide lenses, but the notes talk about focal length and feel.
A wide lens, like the standard 24mm equivalent on most drones, feels immersive. It exaggerates speed. If you fly low to the ground at 30 mph with a wide lens, it feels like 100 mph. It's very dynamic, great for action or opening shots.
But what if I want it to feel classy or premium?
Then you want a telefeel, a telephoto feel. You zoom in, or you use a tighter lens like a 50 millimeter or 70 millimeter. This compresses the distance. It makes the background look massive and close to the subject.
This is that effect where you see Avatar driving down a highway and the mountains behind it look absolutely gigantic and the car seems to be moving slowly and elegantly.
That is exactly it. That is lens compression. It signifies premium. If you want high energy, go wide and get close. If you want majestic or elegant, back way up and zoom in.
And that ties into this cinematic secret weapon, parallax. We hear this word all the time. You got to get some parallax. But what does it actually mean, like in terms of geometry?
Parallax is the apparent shift in position of an object when viewed from different lines of sight. In film, it's the shift between the foreground and the background. It's what tells our monkey brains this is a 3D space.
Okay, so how do we create it?
To get parallax, you need two things: depth and proximity.
Explain the proximity part.
If you fly your drone 400 feet in the air looking at a sunset, nothing is moving relative to anything else. The mountain is static, the clouds are static, it looks like a still photo with a little camera drift. It's boring. To create parallax, you need to slide past something in the foreground.
Like a tree or a lamppost.
A tree, a building corner, a light pole. But, and here's the key, you have to be close to it. If you're 50 feet away from that tree, it won't really move in the frame. You need to be 5 or 10 feet away.
That's terrifying.
It's the job. That's where the skill comes in. When you slide close to that foreground object, it whips across the screen really fast while the background moves really slow. That speed difference. That is parallax. That is what makes a shot feel expensive and dimensional.
So stop flying in the middle of empty air. Find an anchor point.
Always. Anchor the shot. Slide past a column. Reveal the subject from behind a wall. Give the viewer a sense of depth and discovery.
I love that. Now let's talk vocabulary. The sources say, stop saying, I'll fly around it.
Please, for the love of God, stop saying that. It sounds like you're buzzing a picnic. You need to use department terms.
So instead of fly closer,
say push in. That's a dolly term. Instead of fly sideways, say lateral slide or truck.
rise reveal instead of fly up.
And lock off instead of hover. When you use these words, the director and the DP, they hear one of their own. They treat you like a peer. You're speaking their language.
The sources also mention the rule of consistency. What's that?
This is huge for editing. If the ground camera is panning left to right to follow a character walking down the street, your drone shot should generally also move left to right. You want to maintain the screen direction.
Why is that so important?
If you suddenly cut to a drone shot moving right to left, you create a collision in the editor's mind. It feels jarring. It feels like the character suddenly turned around and started walking the other way. It breaks the flow.
Unless you're intentionally trying to disorient the viewer.
Which 99% of the time in a brand film, you are not.
Now, you have this strategy called the two-pass system. This seems like a great way to save your butt on set.
It's the ultimate safety net for your career. Directors love options, but they hate waiting. So you build their confidence in you. You tell them, I'm going to give you 2 versions of this shot.
Version 1.
Cast 1 is the safe match. This is the boringly perfect version. It's a simple, clean move, stable, consistent speed, no fancy stuff. It's guaranteed to cut into the film. You're putting the money in the bank. You've gotten them a usable shot.
You've fulfilled the brief.
Exactly. And then once that is done and everyone is happy, you say, okay, I have an idea for something a little more dynamic if we have time.
And that's version 2, the spicy option.
That's the spicy option. This is where you might add a compound move. Maybe you're orbiting while rising while tilting the camera down. Or you try to thread the needle between 2 trees.
So you're taking a risk.
You're taking a calculated risk. But you only do it after you have the safe one recorded and confirmed. That way, if the spicy one fails or if you crash, you haven't ruined the day. You still have the shot. You look like a hero either way.
That is so smart. It's about risk management, not just flying. Which leads us right into segment 3, flying for the edit. Because ultimately, if the editor can't use it, it doesn't matter how spicy it was.
The editor is the final gatekeeper. They're your most important client, even if you never meet them. They don't care how hard it was to fly. They don't care that your hands were freezing or the wind was tricky. They only care about one thing. Does this tell the story and can I cut it?
The number one need mentioned in the text is handles. And I feel like this is something new pilots always forget.
Always. Handles are the breathing room on the ends of the clip. You need 3 to 5 seconds of absolute stability before your move starts and 3 to 5 seconds after the move ends.
Why so much? That feels like a long time to just hover there.
Because the editor needs that room to work. They might need to dissolve into the shot from black. or they need to cut on a specific beat of the music. If you start the move immediately when you hit record, or if you stop the drone the millisecond the move is done, you've given them zero flexibility. You've backed them into a corner.
So it's like parking a car. You don't just jump out while it's still rolling to a stop.
That is a perfect analogy. You roll camera, you wait, you count in your head, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Then you begin the move. You execute it smoothly. You finish the move. Then you hold it again. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Then you cut the camera.
And along with that, you need a clean start and clean end.
Yes. No accelerating out of a turn to start the shot. No hunting for your exposure settings mid-shot. The shot has to be usable from frame 1. If the gimbal switches in the first second, the handle is ruined and you've wasted everyone's time.
There's a phrase in here I really like. One move, one idea.
This is the cure for the demo flight syndrome. The demo. You see pilots who try to do everything at once in a single take. I'm going to orbit the building while diving, while revealing the sunset, while panning the camera up.
It sounds chaotic just describing it.
It's unusable. An audience can only process one new piece of visual information at a time. So pick one dominant idea for the shot. Is the idea, reveal the building? Then just do that. A clean, simple reveal. Don't try to be Michael Bay in a single 5-second clip.
Let's talk about the enemies of editing. What are the uncuttable zones?
These are the subtle errors that make an editor want to throw their computer out the window. A mid-move yaw is the worst. This is where you are flying straight and you gently twist the drone left or right with your thumb to adjust your framing.
That little searching look.
It looks robotic. It breaks the immersion instantly. It screams drone or speed ramps, suddenly speeding up or slowing down because your thumb slipped. It's got to be one consistent speed, and then there's the dreaded horizon wobble.
Oh.
If the horizon tilts even 1 degree and then corrects itself, the viewer's brain breaks. They stop looking at the car or the actor, and they start feeling seasick. Your horizon has to be locked and level.
So on the flip side, what are the specific moves that editors actually love, the ones that make it into the final cut?
Number 1, and this will sound crazy, is the locked off hold. The most powerful weapon in your arsenal. You just fly to the perfect frame and stop. You hold it. You become a tripod in the sky for 10 seconds.
Why is that so good? It seems so simple.
Because it's versatile. It can be a background plate for text and graphics. It can be a beautiful establishing shot to open a scene. It could be a breathing moment in a fast-paced montage. It gives the editor options.
What's next?
The lateral slide. I think it's the most underrated move. Just sliding perfectly sideways like a camera on a dolly track.
And why does that cut so well?
Because ground cameras often move sideways on dollies. So when you cut from a ground shot of a person walking, tracking with them, to a drone shot sliding sideways over a landscape, it feels coherent. The motion language is the same.
And the last one here is the transition travel.
Right. This is about using the drone as glue, moving from scene A to scene B with a consistent direction. If the previous shot ends with a car exiting the frame on the right side, you should start your drone shot with motion continuing to the right. It pulls the viewer through the edit.
All right, let's get serious for a minute. Segment 4, safety, regulations, and set etiquette. This is where the rubber meets the road, or I guess where the props meet the air.
This is where you either become a professional or a liability. There's no in between.
Let's talk about set hierarchy. There's a rule mentioned called the AD rule.
It's the first rule of flying on a film set. If the first assistant director, the AD, cannot lock the set, you do not launch, period. End of story.
Why is the AD so important? We touched on this, but drive it home for us.
Because you cannot fly a drone and watch the ground at the same time. It's impossible. You have goggles on or you're staring intently at a small screen. You need the AD to be your eyes and ears, your bodyguard on the ground. They're the only ones with the authority to scream on the radio, hold all background, lock it up, and have everyone listen.
And to help them, the sources say you should define 3 zones.
Yeah, this makes it simple for everyone. You need to visualize the set like a bullseye.
Okay.
Zone 1 is the bullseye, the sterile launch box. That is for the flight crew only. Me, my visual observer, that's it. No actors, no clients, no wandering PAs getting coffee.
Got it. What's zone 2?
Zone 2 is the flight corridor. That's the planned path of the drone, plus a safety buffer on either side. People can be in that zone, but they need to be briefed and aware.
And zone 3?
Zone 3 is the holding area. That's where everyone else stands. The clients, the rest of the crew, anyone not essential to the shot, they watch from there.
So if a curious extra crosses from zone 3 into zone 2 while you're flying?
You land. Immediately. You don't ask questions, you don't finish the move, you bring the drone home. Safety first, shot second.
Now let's role play a nightmare scenario. I'm the director, we're losing light, I'm stressed. I turn to you and say, hey, I need you to just fly over that crowd of extras real quick. It'll look amazing, just do it.
This happens on almost every big set. The pressure is immense.
If I say, no, that's illegal, you're going to hate me. You're going to see me as an obstacle.
Right. If you say, that's illegal, you sound like a cop. You sound like a roadblock. All the director hears is no, and they'll resent you for it.
So what do I say? How do I handle that?
You use what the materials call the calm safety script. It has 3 parts: condition, consequence, solution.
Okay, try it on me. Just fly over the crowd. We're losing the light.
I see the shot. It's beautiful. Right now, I can't fly yet because we have people directly in the flight path. Condition. If the drone has a failure, it will fall on them and will be shut down for the day. Consequence. But if we can clear a 10-foot lane right down the middle, I can get you that exact shot in the next 2 minutes. Solution.
See, that feels totally different. You aren't saying no. You're saying, here is how we get to yes safely.
Exactly. Or another great phrase is, we aren't in a fly condition yet. The word yet is key. It implies that once the condition is met moving, the people, we can fly. It puts the ball back in their court to clear the set for you.
Now, we need to get into the jurisdiction nuance, Canada versus the USA, because we have listeners in both and the rules are not the same.
Not at all. And getting this wrong can lead to huge fines. Let's start with definitions. In Canada, under the CARS, Canadian aviation regulations, anyone not involved in the operation is a bystander.
Okay, a bystander. And in the U.S.?
In the U.S., under FAA Part 107, they're called non-participants. Similar idea, different name.
Okay, let's look at Canada first. They divide things by distance, right?
Yes. Canada is very metric-based, so it's all about meters. Basic operations mean you have to stay more than 30 meters. That's about 100 feet away from bystanders horizontally.
And if you want to get closer,
then you are in advanced operations. That allows you to fly near people, which is defined as being between 30 meters and 5 meters. But you can't just decide to do it.
Right, you need a different license for that.
You need an advanced pilot certificate, which involves a much harder exam. You need a drone that is safety rated by Transport Canada for those operations. And you need to pass an in-person flight review with an examiner. It's a rigorous process.
And there's a new rule coming for 2025 regarding events. I saw this in the notes, and it seems like a big deal for people with smaller drones.
This is a massive shift. For years, people thought if they flew a micro drone, anything under 250 grams, like a DJI Mini, they could do whatever they wanted.
No rules, no registration.
The toy loophole. Exactly. But as of April 1st, 2025, Transport Canada has closed that door. If you are flying at an advertised event, a concert, a festival, a sporting event, anything the public is invited to, you will now need an SFOC, a Special Flight Operations Certificate, even for a tiny micro drone.
Wow, so you can't just take your Mini 4 Pro to a music festival and buzz the crowd anymore?
Not legally, no. If it's an advertised event, you need the paperwork and permission from Transport Canada.
Now, what about the USA, Part 107? Their rules about people are different.
Yeah, the FAA has very strict rules on operations over people. They've broken drones into 4 categories. Category 1 is for very small drones under 0.55 pounds that also have prop guards. With those, you can fly over people.
But for the larger cinema drones we've been talking about,
For the big cinema drones like an Inspire 3, generally you cannot fly over people unless those people are in a covered structure, like under an awning or inside a stationary vehicle that can provide protection from a falling drone.
what if it's a closed set? I hear people say that all the time. Oh, it's a closed set. We can do whatever we want.
That is a dangerous myth. A closed set just means you've restricted access to the public. But the actors in the crew are still people under the FAA's definition. Just because you put up yellow tape doesn't mean the federal regulations vanish.
So how do you fly near actors?
Those people have to be direct participants in the flight. That means they've been given a full safety briefing on the drone's flight path and potential risks, and they're essential to be there for the shot to happen. You can't just hover over the makeup artist because they happen to be on your closed set.
So know your map, know your rules.
And know where to stand.
Set etiquette. This seems small but important. Where do we plant our feet on a busy set?
You want to be near the AD and near your launch zone, but never, under any circumstances, stand in the working triangle.
Yo, working triangle, what's that?
That's the sacred geometry between the main camera, the focus puller who's looking at their monitor, and the director who is looking at their monitor. That is the cockpit of the film set. If you stand in there holding your big remote controller, you are in the way. You are blocking critical lines of sight.
It's like standing in the doorway of a busy kitchen.
Exactly. You will get yelled at, and you'll deserve it. Find a quiet corner where you can see your drone, but stay visible to the AD.
And when do we speak? When is it okay to chime in?
Before the take. During a reset. Never during a take. That's obvious. And this is a big one. Never when the director is giving notes to the talent.
Why is that moment so sacred?
Because that is a vulnerable, creative, and often very quiet moment. If the director's trying to get a difficult emotional performance, like a crying scene, out of an actor, and you walk up and say, hey, just so you know, I'm at 40% battery, you've just sucked all the air out of the room, you've broken the spell.
Read the room, wait for the cut.
Wait for the cut, silence is golden.
Let's move to segment 5, being a teammate. This is about going beyond just flying and actually problem solving.
The goal here is to offer ideas without having an ego. It's not about showing how smart you are. It's about making the final film better. We call it the teammate method.
There's a specific example in the text called the 10-meter shift. I love this because it's so simple, but it solves such a big problem.
This is a classic situation. So you're framed up for a beautiful shot. The director wants the drone to look at the main character who's standing in a field. But behind the character, way in the background, there is a row of ugly green dumpsters next to a parking lot.
Which totally ruins the cinematic fantasy.
Completely. Now, a bad pilot just shoots it and figures they'll fix it in post. A good pilot says, director, I see dumpsters in the background. A great pilot uses the 10-meter shift.
So what do you say?
You say, hey, director, I've got a great frame, but I'm seeing some dumpsters in the background. If we shift the actors and the drone just 10 meters to the left, we can use that big oak tree to hide them completely, and we keep the exact same lighting and story beat.
You're solving a problem they might not have even noticed yet on their small monitor.
And you're doing it with a solution, not just a complaint. That's the key.
Another one is the light is dropping call.
As the drone pilot, you are often the most aware of the environment because you're literally staring at the sky. You see the cloud bank rolling in. The director is busy looking at the actors' faces deep in the performance.
So you have to be the weather person.
You have to speak up. You say to the AD, hey, we're losing direct sun in about 10 minutes. We should prioritize getting the hero wides now. We can always get the tight detail shots when it's cloudy.
You're protecting the production value. You're prioritizing the shots that need the good sun.
Exactly. You are managing the most precious resource on set, good light.
Sometimes, though, being a good teammate means saying, don't use the drone.
Yes. And this is the hardest thing for a pilot to do, because your whole job is to fly. But you have to have the integrity to admit when the drone is the wrong tool for the job.
Give us an example where the drone is the villain.
Dialogue scenes. Drones are loud. They sound like a swarm of angry bees. If you are trying to record an intimate, emotional dialogue scene, and you have a drone hovering 20 feet away, the sound mixer will want to murder you. You'll ruin every take.
So what do you suggest instead?
You look at what they're trying to achieve. If they want a high angle that's moving, you suggest a jib or a camera crane. It's silent and precise. Or if they want a flowing shot following the actors through a tight space, you suggest a gimbal or a Steadicam.
So if you recommend a jib, you aren't talking yourself out of a job.
No, you are gaining immense respect. You are proving that you care about the film more than you care about your flight hours. That producer will remember that, and they will hire you again for a job where the drone is the right tool.
Speaking of efficiency, let's talk about segment 6, media management. This is the DIT mindset, digital imaging technician. And this is where we talk about data corruption, which is my personal nightmare.
This is where you go from pilot to data technician. Because listen to me, if you fly the most amazing award-winning shot in history, and then you lose the file, or the card corrupts, or the editor can't find it, the flight never happened. You failed completely.
So let's start with the basics. The 3-2-1 backup rule.
This is Ike gospel, and it applies to film sets. You need 3 copies of the data. You need them on 2 different types of media, like one on a fast SSD drive and one on a spinning hard drive. And one of those copies should be stored separately, like in a different vehicle or a different bag from the others.
Because if the main gear van gets stolen,
you don't lose the entire movie. You still have a copy.
Now, card hygiene. I love this idea in the notes of the hot versus cold wallet system. Paint a picture for us.
It's so simple, and it will save you one day. You buy 2 of those little memory card wallets. On one, you put a big strip of red gaffers tape. That is your hot wallet. That is for cards that have footage on them but have not been backed up yet.
Danger. Do not touch. Full of precious data.
Exactly. The other wallet has a strip of green tape. That is your cold wallet. That is for empty, formatted cards that are ready to go into the drone and fly.
So you never, ever, under any circumstances, pull a card from the red wallet and put it back in the drone.
Never. That is how you accidentally format a card that has the day's hero shot on it. And believe me, that feeling, that moment when you hit format and your blood runs cold because you realize what you just did, it is a physical pain in your gut.
I can imagine. Now, folder structure. You can't just dump everything in a folder called drone stuff.
Please don't do that. Editors and post-production houses work with very strict, organized folder trees. You should create a folder structure on your drive, like 01 camera originals, 02 transcodes, 03 proxies, 05 reports.
And what's the golden rule of renaming files?
Don't ever rename camera originals.
Why not? C001.mov is such a boring, useless name. Why can't I rename it Awesome Hero Shot Final Use This Own?
Because the camera generates that specific file name, and all the metadata is linked to it. If the editing software crashes or the project gets moved to a different computer, the software goes looking for a file named C001.mov to relink the media. If you've changed the name to Awesome Hero Shot, the link is broken forever, the screen goes red, media offline.
And the editor has to manually go and find every single clip again.
And they will curse your name for generations while they do it.
Finally, in the section, the keeper note.
This is your gift to the editor. At the end of the day, just saying take 3 was good is useless if they don't know which of the 50 files on the card is est.
Yeah.
Take 3. You need a simple shot log, a piece of paper, or a note on your phone.
What goes on it?
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
File name, description of the move, and a quick rating. C0 Libra so, slow orbit around the logo, good. C005, slow orbit, bad, had a little wind bump. C006, slow orbit, hero, perfect.
And translate the client feedback, right?
Yes, absolutely. If the client on set screams, "Oh my God, I love that one," while you're flying, you make a note in the log next to that file name. Client loved this one, so to use it for the opener. You are giving the editor a roadmap so they don't have to waste hours watching the garbage takes. You're saving them time, and they will love you for it.
We're in the home stretch. Segment 7, the gear strategy. The text recommends a 3-drone setup. Why do we need 3? That seems like a lot.
Because one drone cannot do it all. It's about having the right tool for the scale of the shot and the pressure of the schedule.
So let's start with the A unit, the big gun.
The DJI Inspire 3. This is the cinema workhorse. It looks like an alien spacecraft. The key features are interchangeable lenses, so you can match the focal length of the ground cameras, and it supports dual operators.
So one person flies the drone and a second person operates just the camera.
Exactly, just like a real film crew. This allows for incredibly complex and precise shots. This is for the money shots, the hero moments.
Okay, then what's the B unit for?
The B unit is a high-end prosumer drone. The Mavic 3 Pro scene, or the new Mavic 4 Pro. This is your save the schedule tool. It's small, it folds up, you can get it in the air in 60 seconds. If the director suddenly has an idea and you only have 5 minutes of light, you don't have time to set up the big Inspire. You grab the Mavic.
And you mentioned there's a nuance with the Mavic 4 Pro availability, right?
Yeah, this is a good thing for pros to be aware of. Right now, availability is a bit tricky. It's more readily available in Canada, but there are some supply chain restrictions or delays in the USA distribution channels. So if you're a US pilot traveling to Canada for a job or vice versa, make sure you actually have the gear that works and is supported in that region. Don't just assume you can buy one anywhere.
Good tip. And finally, the C unit.
The C unit is the Mini 4 Pro. It's the Scout, the micro tool. It's under 250 grams. It's great for getting quick inserts in tight spaces where the big drone can't go, or just for scouting a complex flight path before you risk the big $15,000 drone.
Let's talk essential accessories. What do you absolutely need besides the drones?
Monitoring. You must have a big, high-bright remote monitor for the director. The director has to see what you're doing, clearly, in bright daylight. If they can't see it, they can't approve it. And do not make them squint over your shoulder at your tiny controller screen. It's unprofessional.
Dour.
You need a system. Charging hubs that can charge multiple batteries at once, running continuously off a generator or large power bank. You never, ever want to be the person who says, we have to wait 45 minutes for batteries to charge. That will get you fired.
And a safety kit?
Simple stuff. Orange cones to mark your launch zone.
Yeah.
A weighted landing pad so you don't kick up dust. And a high-vis safety vest.
So the vest, it seems so silly. Does it actually help?
It is pure cytology,
Hey.
and it is the most important piece of gear you own. When you put on a neon yellow vest, you become invisible in a social sense, but hyper-visible in a safety sense. People instinctively give you space. It signals, I am working, I am official. Do not talk to me about your nephew who has a drone.
It's a do not disturb sign that you wear.
Exactly. It makes you look like a department, not like a tourist with an expensive toy.
We've covered a massive amount of ground today. I mean, from the mindset of a department head to the physics of shutter angle, from the legal maze of Part 107 to the horrors of bad file renaming.
It is a lot. But if you zoom out, it all comes back to that one core idea, the rebooking loop.
Summarize that for us one last time. What is the loop?
It's a cycle. 1, align expectations before you fly. 2, protect the clock while you fly. 3, hand off clean, organized media after you fly. And 4, send a thank you and a debrief note.
That's the cycle that gets you hired again.
That's the cycle. You aren't just getting the shot. You are protecting the schedule, you're protecting the footage, and you're protecting the brand's image. You're a partner, not a vendor.
I love the final thought from the source material. It's a challenge for our listeners, especially the ones who love flying fast and doing those sick orbits.
Yes. The challenge is this. On your next shoot, try to make the simplest, cleanest, most boringly perfect move possible, and then watch how fast the editor puts it in the final cut.
Boring is beautiful.
Boring gets you rehired.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this deep dive into aerial directing. Whether you're a pilot looking to level up or a producer looking to hire one, we hope this changed your perspective on what's happening up there in the sky. It is not just a toy. It's a serious cinematic tool.
It's not just about the view. It's about the vision.
Thanks for listening. Fly safe, shoot clean, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Clear skies, everyone.
That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.